Welcome back to Jawn, powered by CollX and Car Dealer Pro. I'm David from the CollX and Car Dealer Pro team, and with me, we have two special guests today. Usually we have another CollX Car Dealer Pro team member sitting in the middle, but instead we have two guests on this episode, and I'm excited to have these guys on. First, we have to my left, we have Bubba Gaffney, Kryptic Klubhouse, aka formerly known as Big Bubba Cars. We got to bring that handle back. We'll get into that in a second. And also our friend Sal Travato from STM Sports and Collectibles. Friends of the CollX and Car Dealer Pro. Guys, thanks for being on today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us.
Sal, we'll start with you first, and then we'll get to Bubba. Tell me your background, how you got in the hobby. We'll get that out of the way before we talking about the juicy topics that we were discussing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as most of us are. I've always been a collector since I was a kid, and it was always, putting the sets together and collecting my favorite cars. I was doing car shows when I was 10 years old, so I've always been in the hobby. And then once you get a job and you start making money, you start actually seeing it as a potential investment piece. So I've always been involved with the hobby. I love everything about it. And, I'm excited to see where it goes in the near future for sure.
Go Birds. Bubba, what about you?
Just basically started collecting Pokemon cards, and then that evolved into sports cards. Then took a break like most people. Mm-hmm. Peak pandemic, came back and ended up getting a job in the hobby. And then now have my own little spot. So
love it, yeah. And where's your spot located so people want to check it out?
It's located inside of Kryptic Collections in Cinnaminson, New Jersey, right off of 130, a couple minutes from Philly, and about 10 minutes from here.
Love it, awesome. So we're going to talk about an assortment of topics today, obviously, and just talk sports cars as we all like to do. So I guess, we talked to both of you guys before the show, and let's talk about vintage or modern, right? Like there's a lot of, people that are collecting vintage, modern, chasing after that 2023 prospect. Sal, what's your take on the vintage or modern era of collecting sports cars?
Right. I mean, to each their own, right? Everybody can collect what they want to collect. For me personally, I don't invest too much in the modern stuff just because of the turnover, and there's a lot more risk versus reward. So I enjoy personally collecting vintage cards. I've always collected vintage cars since I was a little kid. My first car was like a 1971, common card, and I still have it to this day. But that's what I enjoy, is finding vintage cards and then upgrading those vintage cards as I go, getting nicer copies, getting better versions. That to me is a real kind of level up type of thing versus spending the money on a prospect that might not pan out. That's for me personally. But again, to each their own. People love and enjoy collecting modern stuff, and that's great too.
Bubba, what about you? Vintage
I like to have a mix of both, and I lean more towards the obscure stuff that you don't see every day, like the throwback to the old school Upper Deck, the game used patches, numbered cards, Allen and Ginter oddballs, stuff you don't see every day, and that really makes people ask questions like, what is this card, or why is there a Mr. T Allen and Ginter card, or something that piques interest, that sparks conversation. Do
you think, and I'm a collector like you, Bubba, like I'm collecting, like, I don't say the weird stuff, but the weird stuff. Like, do you ever think that will come around more, you think?
I think it's going to come around just for people diversifying their collection, like Sal mentioned with prospecting. If that's what you're into, I mean, that's great for you, but also you'd want to mix in some stuff to mitigate your losses and basically make sure that you have a well-rounded collection that goes with the peaks and valleys of the market.
Now, what about, as we're talking about vintage and modern, there's obviously comes with that price, Sal. We talked about how, 2023 Bowman Chrome just came out recently, and they had David Adams, and hopefully by the time this episode comes out, that Babe Ruth Superfractor is either pulled maybe by us, or one of us here.
One today, right?
I think that the box is like what, $300-400 maybe. I haven't looked.
I haven't checked.
Yeah, well that means we're not buying them. So
yeah, I'm not gonna be going out buying $340.
But David Adams are putting out $200K bounty for that Superfractor Babe Ruth Bowman first. What's your thoughts on just the Bowman first of the old school players like the Roberto Clementes and the Babe Ruths of the world?
I mean, I love that they're including that in the set, but it is basically they've made the market for those things, right? The $200,000 bounty on something that drives up business, it drives up sales. I wouldn't be surprised if people are, if Topps put that out to say like, hey, does anyone want to create this bounty to get the momentum going for this product? things like that happen all the time. But I do enjoy, when I was a kid, I remember pulling from, Topps cards and getting, a Yogi Berra or a Mickey Mantle, refractor, and thinking that I struck gold. Like, this is my Mickey Mantle card. I still have kids coming up to my booth asking for Mickey Mantle cards, Babe Ruth cards, things like that. But the reprints, that they can own a piece of something that they feel is history. So I don't mind that. But the $200,000 bounty, I think, is setting up something that it's almost setting up a system, right, in place where these cards are only going to be available for certain prices, and not everyone's going to be able to afford those cards. So, but if you pull it, good for you. You're a rich man, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind pulling something like that for sure.
Bubba, your thoughts on the 2023 Bowman first for
Honestly,
Babe Ruth?
for me personally, it doesn't do anything for me. I think that this hobby is kind of, you have your sheep and then you have your like true collectors. If you want to follow, like I feel like this is geared towards younger people.
Sure.
Like you see flashy things, $200,000, life-changing money for anybody. But realistically, I think that you should do your own research, collect what you like. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but at the same time, I think that there's other valuable things that you can purchase as far as investments or doing whatever you want to do in the hobby. And I think that doing research is a big part of that. So,
Do you guys think that with that, sticking on the Bowman first, so 2023 Bowman Chrome, like, do you think, like, I mean, everyone talks about the junk wax era, right? Like the Randy Johnsons, the Mark McGuire rookie cards that are like, there's 14,000 of X, right?
Right.
Are we in an overprinting stage now in the hobby in 2023?
I think so, personally, because, I mean, every new product that comes out, there's 50 different versions of these cards, and then each version of that has 50 different versions, and there's 299 printed. So there's a ton of parallels right now, and I can't even keep them all straight. I don't know how these kids do it. These days sound old, but I don't know the difference between a Prism Wave blue refractor,
Pulsar, green
like
scope.
it's just too I don't know what rookie card. If I did want to invest in somebody, I don't even know what rookie card I would want to invest in because there's so many different options. So I usually just end up grabbing the $50 one or the $25 one. But yeah, it is almost becoming a second junk wax era, especially the junk slab era that people talk about, with everybody was getting everything slabbed up at PSA, and you got tens and nines floating around for $5-6. It's almost a waste of money at this point. So,
in my opinion, I think with talking about the different colors of different cards, I think gold, red, obviously the supers and the 101s, like that's like, to me, I think the golds are the most valuable. If obviously getting the chances of getting a 101 are severely lower than any other card, but I think gold's where it's at, and anything red, or the 5.
But the black ones are pretty rare too.
Well, it depends too. I mean, because like a gold in Bowman is not to 10; it's at what, 50, or I think it's 50.
Yeah.
Which in the Prism, golds are to 10. So, but yeah, Bubba, what's your thoughts on just what we just talked about?
Yeah, so I think that the different numbered cards and stuff is really interesting, but thing that I see a lot too when you try to pay it forward and you give kids packs, or you see other creators, paying it forward, going out to games, handing out packs and stuff, you see we're gearing the kids in the next generation of the hobby to only caring about the hits. And what I've noticed, I've seen it firsthand in shops that I've worked at, you pay it forward, you say, hey, here's an extra pack for a kid. Because you remember what it was like being a kid, not having the money to buy packs, especially what would a Bowman Chrome pack be today? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't been to a shop recently or since it's come out. But I've seen like packs like thrown in the trash with cards that like we spent money on to pay it forward.
Yeah, they flip right through and look for the color and flip the rest of them back. They don't care about the base cards anymore.
I'm not scared to admit this. I'm that person.
You are.
It's
your fault.
Because I mean, I'm 32. I'm not, and I'm 7 years old, but like I opened a lot of WWE Prism, and the third box open, like I knew exactly, like common, any color, and and that's a great point though, Bubba. Like kids are only interested in the modern stuff. So like, I wonder if like those cards that they don't want, like, do they turn into, like, are they really $1 now? Or like, like I'm saying, like what's going to be our, like 10 years from now, what's going to be the, 2020 on, version of like the '90s Randy Johnson overprinted card.
I think it's going to.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think even when you buy into like breaks and stuff like that, like I've bought into breaks. I'm sure a lot of your viewers have too. Like when I talked to the breaker, I said, "What do you do with all the cards after you're done?" Because they're breaking hobby boxes and tons of base cards and everything like that. He's like, "I just chuck them in the trash." I'm like, "Oh, it's such a shame, right? Like, there's so many baseball cards that are just getting thrown out." But he's like, I would never be able to keep all these, and I have so many. I would never even be able to give them all away. There's just too many of them, and that's kind of the trend of the hobby. Is nobody cares about the base cards. It's almost like, why do they even print them? Like. It's sometimes you pull a rookie or something like that out of the base, but there is a lot of waste in the hobby. I feel like because people are only searching for those parallel numbered cards.
Well, speaking of product of being open, have you guys ripped anything recently, or even it's a month or two ago? Like, what have you ripped?
I mean, the only thing that I open is my on like a Wax Pack Wednesday, I'll open like a 1992 Topps set or something like that, and put it up for content. But I don't really like these types of cards. I'm not buying them from shops. I do. I mean, I know they sell and create, but I'm not in the flipping business.
You're in one lane. You just want to
right, exactly.
The card,
I focus my collection because otherwise I would be so scattered and my house would be even more trash than it is right now with cards and autographs everywhere. But I have to be kind of hyper focused. Otherwise, I'm just all over the place. So
well, Sal, speaking of autographs, you have an interesting background in the autograph industry. What's the best item to get autographed these days? Obviously, we see that autographs on cards, on card auto, sticker autos, but like I see a lot more people at these shows, especially at the National. Like like I personally wouldn't want to get a photo signed by someone and have it like in a frame or anything. But like, what autograph item are you see? Let me rephrase that again. What autograph item are you seeing the most people getting autographed these days?
I mean, it's always been, the standards, the pricing when you're doing autograph signings are usually flats and balls are a certain price, say $25, which is photos and baseballs. The next price up is premiums, which is going to be jerseys, equipment, game used items. So I tend to try and focus on, because you can find autographed baseballs anywhere. So I really try and focus on, specific different types of items that people wouldn't really have a ton of inventory of, right? So I create my own items. You try and find some game used items that are one of a kind things. That's really where the value is going to be, because anybody could go and get, trying to think here. Are we able to edit that or no?
We're live.
We're live.
We're live, baby.
Like you can find like a baseball, that's autographed by anybody, but finding a game used baseball by somebody is going to be, I put out the extra money for that.
Got it. Bubba, what about you?
So I like the weird stuff, as I said before. So Sal did signing at our shop in Cinnamitton with Mitch Williams, and my partner Joe got Mitch Williams to sign a hollow Charizard.
Nice.
So it brought me back to like
that was a cool
the Step Brothers movie when Will Ferrell shows that he got Randy Jackson to sign the samurai sword, and it just makes you like freeze and be like, what is this?
Yeah, there's a story
and like some like really cool things, like stuff you don't really see. Like the last time I went to the Philly show, I saw Jeremiah Trotter, the Axeman. He signed on the hatchet, and I'm like, yo, this is so cool. So stuff like that, or like the classic Allen and Ginter cards, if you can get them to just a plain simple portrait, I think it looks really nice, and you can slab it up or put it in your collection on the wall if you want to.
It's a conversation piece.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I mean, definitely something different. That's kind of the thing that I would
Sal,
stress.
you talked about you have various relationships with athletes. How hard is it to get an athlete to a store or just to an event these days? Because I think these athletes are starting to realize that like their value in their autograph, getting an autograph at a show is a lot different 2 years ago till now. Like the big time athletes are realizing like what they're signing. They put more effort into signing that said autograph item. If Kareem is signing his rookie card, like he knows like this is a valuable piece compared to like Wilson basketball they can get from Dick's Sporting Goods for $20.
Right. Yeah. The signing autographs, and there is even a difference in the way people sign from the former athletes, veterans, and Hall of Famers versus the newer guys. And the experience, I feel like, is different as well. You know, coming up and getting a newer, you know, starting pitcher or something like that, you might not have that personal, authentic experience, right? It might just be like, you know, an assembly line type of thing, unfortunately. But I do see that the older players take their time with the items. They recognize when an item is going to be in somebody's collection or valuable to them or sentimental to them. They'll take the time to really, you know, make sure their autograph looks nice on the item. There's nothing worse than going up and having a player ruin your item by getting it signed in the wrong place or in the wrong pen. And it's just such a deflating feeling because you just don't know what to do, and you can't replace that. It's a one-of-a-kind kind of item. So you have to really prepare if you're doing autograph signings for sure. You have to make sure you're ready to go and you have all of your tape, you know, lined up where sign here, blue Sharpie here, this type of thing. You really have to get prepped for it.
Well, I am a victim of a bad auto on a card. I had Ric Flair signed through Fitterman Sports. I guess maybe we caught. Again, I sent it in, but I think Rick maybe had an off day that day because the marker like smeared a little bit. And
man.
I was like, I think it's an auto 10, but in my mind it's an auto 8 or something.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm going to put you guys on the spot. And Sal, I'll start with you first. Who has the best autograph in sports, you think?
The best autograph in sports would probably be, my favorite is Andre Dawson. I had a chance to meet Andre and interview him and ask him about his autograph and why it's so clean and precise. He takes so much time with his autograph and it's so clean, and I just love the look of it. And he said, you know, I used to practice every day. My aunt used to make me come home and write my autograph on the chalkboard, and he takes a lot of pride in it. So that would be my answer. And just hearing that from him was a really cool experience. So he's definitely going to be one of my favorite autographs, you know, in the hobby.
Bubba, who has the worst autograph?
Worst autograph?
I have my answer.
That's tough.
There's people that do
We're
check
best.
marks for their autographs, right?
I would say locally, I would say Devonta Smith. His rookie auto was D. Smith. Now you're lucky if you get two squiggles.
Yeah.
I would say he's probably up there with the worst.
Yeah, I have a best and a worst. I'll go with the worst first. Allen Iverson has one of the worst autos on the market, I think. Or just the way I think he just scribbles.
It depends. If he takes his time and because Iverson is a collector too, and if you bring him, that's another example. If you bring him something that he hasn't seen before or something that's cool, a cool photo and edit, something like that, he'll sit there and hold the whole lineup and just stare at it and look at it and be like, wow, this is awesome. And he'll take his time and really do it. But yeah, it is kind of, I mean, all the new players have those squiggle autos. It's a shame when they're signing thousands of cards, like we were talking about the parallels and the refracted stuff like that. They get stacks and stacks of cards that they have to sign. No wonder they're short-sigging things. And no wonder they're kind of dialing down their autograph, their in-person autograph versus a paid signing autograph. There's a lot of variables that you have to think about. Back to
Sticking with the autograph thing, my favorite autograph of autos I've seen, Mariano Rivera has a great one.
Yeah.
Who else? I'm drawing a blank.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson.
Haven't seen
Peterson is he's the like all
Ozzie
up
Smith.
and down.
Ozzie Smith has a good one. And Sandy Koufax. I mean,
Yeah. Classics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong. People complain about, you know, the newer autographs and how they're just two letters. I mean, if you look at like a Michael Jordan autograph, it's just the M and the J and a line. Like, it's kind of the same thing, but it's such an iconic autograph that people don't really complain about his auto, right? It's not spelled out every single letter nowadays. It used to be when he was a rookie, he used to sign his full name. But even that, like, you know, the Mike Trout rookie, I don't mind it, but I just don't want a sloppy version of that, really.
So in talking about autographed items, let's talk about items that we want in RPC. Sal, what's your holy grail card that you're chasing, want, never can get, or just you're working to get?
Holy
what's
grail,
your holy
obviously,
grail?
would be the 52 mantle. I mean, that, you know, if I could get like just even an altered version of that, I'd be fine with it, right? I mean, a lower budget one would be my, you know, the Jordan, you know, rookie, the 86 Fleer. I've been in the market for that for a while now, and every show I go to, I see a few of them, and they're just, I'm very picky. I don't want to spend a ton of money on it, but I do want to find a nice version. The centering is very big for me. You know, the corners are very big for me. You know, I'm not too worried about the surface or anything, but if I can get a nice, like a 7 or an 8 86 Jordan for a good price, I'm in the market if anyone wants to send me some DX. But yeah, I think that would be my grail. I've been looking for a while for one of those.
Bubba, what's your holy grail card?
One I'm looking for at the moment, I'm saving up to get a nice copy of 1972 Topps Julius Erving, Dr. J, with the red, white, and blue.
Squires?
Yeah, the Squires. I had that basketball growing up, and that was really cool. And I was a huge fan of the Globetrotters. And you see like Philly legends like Wilt Chamberlain and just other people that, they put a show into basketball. And I think that eventually translated into the NBA. And there's some really awesome documentaries on Netflix and stuff that you can see. So I would say 1972 Topps, Dr. J.
I think that card, I love that card too. And it's interesting that like that card can fluctuate in price up or down because it has like the white circle on it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so interesting when vintage cards have that extra like hidden like at Disney World when they have that like Mickey's everywhere. It's like hidden gems. Like add some value to it.
Easter eggs they call them. Right?
Yeah, Easter eggs. That's what I was looking for. Before we wrap up, let's get into another topic or two. Buying, selling, and flipping. Right, like Bubba, your experience working in shops. What's the pros and cons of we kind of talked about it earlier with like kids are just wanting the best card in the pack, but what's your experience of working in shops, going to shows, and like seeing people that like are buying, selling, flipping, and the true collector at heart? Like what you've seen a vast majority of like all four types of people. So like, what do you think about the flipper, the seller, and the passionate collector at shows?
So I think that first of all, the true collector, they'll pay whatever they want for the card if they have it. If I see a card that I really want, and I don't even take out my phone to talk about comps. If I can negotiate it with that person without taking out the phone, without taking a picture of the slab with alt or a CollX or another card, like a service like that, I think it brings maintains the human aspect of that. And I'm a really big relationship guy, and I could care less about the cardboard. I consider you two great friends in the hobby, and I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of friends in the hobby, and that means more to me than any card in the entire world.
That's a great point, though. Like I've been to shows too where like I know how much X card is, and I won't like use my phone or like do research because I know like okay, like at the end of the day, if I want a card and it's $175, like do you negotiate the 150? But you want it,
right?
So like,
is it worth the
or even $60, $20? Like
I'm on the same page as Bubba here because the hobby to me and collecting to me is really all about building relationships and meeting people and building your network. And you give that guy the $200 when it's really $150. You give it to him that time, he'll remember that. He'll remember the next time you're looking for something and he has it in his collection. You'll say, hey, I remember you bought this from me. You're a previous customer. I'll give you a good deal on this one. So you kick the can down the road a little bit sometimes, and it's all about building relationships. And the kids in the hobby, I think too, that are the flippers and nowadays it's all like, are you trading? And the kids are all walking around. They're all doing the trade up challenge and everything like that. But most of those kids will eventually turn into collectors when they get to be our age, and when they're in the hobby for a long time, they're gonna realize that they want to pare down their collection to something that they care about, and that's when you find your niche, and that's when you start collecting your PC.
I think a huge thing too with the human aspect is the younger generation lacks the traditional social skills that we have at our age, and I think that if there's a way that content creators can introduce this communication. When you come up to someone at a show, say, hey, Dave, nice to see you again. I saw you this morning pulling in. Yeah, thanks for having me today. We're going to do this.
Yeah.
Or Sal, thanks for having me at your show.
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciate it. Like, we're all working towards the same goal under this umbrella of the hobby. And I think that when you walk up to somebody, you say, well, what's the best you got? Say hi, how you doing? How's your day going?
It's very transactional with kids nowadays.
And I think that's the other aspect that bleeds into with the younger kids when they come up. My old boss, shout out Brad at the Card Capital. One thing he taught me was, these kids are coming up, but he owns a business, and now I'm in a spot where I have my own little shop, but you have bills, you have insurance, you have overhead and employee payroll and stuff. So that price might be padded a little bit, but that also accounts for things that someone who doesn't have rent, someone who doesn't have bills or a car payment has. So if there's a way that we can take this trade-up challenge and interest in the hobby and get it into social skills, I think that there's a way to elevate the hobby, and I think that that's something that we can all focus on going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's a lot of like entrepreneurial spirit in these kids walking around the National or the Philly Card Show or the Brotherly Love Card Show. Like, you know,
Which is great.
a lot of money in their
Entrepreneurial
card.
spirit is great, but you have to have the personal and marketing and sales skills behind it if you want to be a successful business person. You have to have that personality behind it too, not just, you know, how much can you give me for this? I don't want to deal with something.
Last question, guys. Give me one word. What's the state of the hobby right now? Sal. Awesome.
Healthy.
Healthy. Like it. Bubba, how can people get in touch with you or visit your shop?
My Instagram is Kryptic Clubhouse with a K. Might switch it back to the old school Big Bubba.
I think you should bring it
cards.
back. We should have two.
I think it should be a representation of myself. I just wanted to have a name established, but I'm on Instagram. I'm fairly active, so if anyone wants to get in touch with me, feel free to reach out. I'm always here and love talking to people, love meeting people. That's my favorite thing about the hobby.
Big Bubba Cards will be coming back to IG. Sal.
Let's hope so, right? Instagram is my main platform that you can follow me on. It's at STM _sports and collectibles. So STM sports and collectibles with an underscore there, posting all kinds of sports content, collections, hobby related topics, things like that on there.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for talking about the hobby, Friends of CollX and Card Dealer Pro. Appreciate you guys both. I'm sure I'll be seeing you guys at upcoming shows.
Definitely.
And thanks for watching the latest episode. This is Bubba Gaffney from Kryptic Collection and Sal Travato from STM Sports and Collectibles on the latest episode of Jawn, powered by CollX and Card Dealer Pro.